What is up, Metaverse family? So in today's video, I want to talk for a little bit about Spider Tanks, because if you guys don't know, Spider Tanks is an upcoming MOBA that is getting released on the Gala Games platform. And the really cool things about Spider Tanks are the fact that it's going to have real ownership in the form of NFTs, where you really own your tank, you own your battlers, you're going to be able to upgrade your tanks, and then you can sell your NFTs later for more after you make them more powerful, which is going to allow for play to earn mechanics as well. Also, the second thing that's really cool is that the gameplay is actually very fun. But after spending a number of hours in Spider Tanks, like probably 5 or 6 hours, because currently it's an open beta, by the way. If you own a tank, you can play games right now. But I have been just wondering, is Spider Tanks really the game that is gonna take Gala viral? Or is Spider Tanks, does it really have what it needs in its DNA to go viral, to become like a League of Legends or Dota style MOBA where people can really dedicate their entire lives to the game? Now, you might disagree with whether or not you should do that anyway, but that's what we're gonna be talking about in this video. Kind of some of my ideas about what Spider Tanks really needs, what it needs to take that next step and really become an addictive and immersive game. So if that sounds like an interesting topic that you're excited for, make sure to leave a big thumbs up on this video. And then if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit subscribe and let's get into it. So starting off, I think that one thing that Spider Tanks has going for it that's really, really positive is it's actually really quite a fun game, in the sense that there are a lot of mechanics where you have to make quick thinking. There's a lot of dodging involved in Spider Tanks. There's a lot of aiming involved in Spider Tanks. There's even like some guns that ricochet off of different parts of the map, which leads to like having to think about geometry and stuff while you're playing. But the real-time action in Spider Tanks is really, really fun, and it's really great. And I think that it is already on par with games like League of Legends or Dota, where there is that dodging aspect, that aiming aspect, and you can just really get your mind engrossed in the game. And during a battle, you really don't have time to think about things in real life. You don't have time for your mind to wonder because you're trying to aim, you're trying to dodge. And I think that aspect of the game is really great. But there's another aspect of MOBAs that I don't really know if Spider Tanks has yet. And this could just be because we're in the beta and there isn't the tank progression yet, and there's a lot of stuff that's just not yet a part of the game. But when I think about the actual game modes that exist for Spider Tanks, they're pretty simplistic. Like in League of Legends, you have a lot of things to think about, and there's a lot of in-match progression that happens where you're farming minions, which means that you're competing against the environment a little bit, trying to last hit in order to get gold. And there's a whole jungle where you can go and farm and level up your character, and then you can take that time, you can spend 10-15 minutes in League of Legends becoming stronger, buying better items by getting a lot of gold per minute, and then that strategy part of it then allows you to take it into the PvP, where you can outclass other players just because you know how to get more gold than those players. And it adds this depth to League of Legends where it's not just fighting the whole time against other players and it's always fighting and dodging. There's like a whole strategy aspect. There's a whole build-up that happens in a League of Legends match that leads to the final crescendo. And by the time you're done with a game of League of Legends, because there's so many different aspects of the gameplay, you're kind of ready to jump into another one, because the early game is so different than the late game, where jumping into another match, you know that you're about to get a different experience than you just had. Both the game, the actual match itself, is gonna feel very different, but also you're gonna move from being in the late game to back in the early game where the gameplay feels very different. Now contrast that to Spider Tanks, there really isn't much of that progression. Like I just said, the gameplay is a little bit simpler in that like there's a deathmatch mode where literally you just run around for 3 or 4 minutes and the whole time you're just trying to kill the opponent and then it's over. But the thing is, after you finish a deathmatch mode and you want to hop back in, like you're hopping right back into the same exact thing. There's not really going to be that much variety from one match to the next. Now, just like in League of Legends where there's different characters and stuff, there will be different tanks. You'll probably be fighting different opponents and have slightly different allies, but there isn't the whole like early game, late game. There isn't the whole like strategy and build up crescendo that happens in each match. So kind of the beginning of the game feels exactly the same as the end of a game and vice versa. And I think that really hurts the replayability of Spider Tanks because I can feel kind of burnt out after several matches of Spider Tanks and can be like, do I really want to jump into another one after like 30 minutes of playing? Whereas League of Legends, in 30 minutes of playing, you're in one entire crescendo and then it finally ends after 30 minutes and you're kind of ready for a new one because you get to start completely fresh once again. Whereas in Spider Tanks, because it's like one 5-minute match is the same as the next 5-minute match is the same as the next 5-minute match, it can just feel a little bit too repetitive. Now, there are some other game modes that are pretty fun. I really love the chicken collection game mode. I think that's pretty cool. But once again, there's not really much progression that happens in that chicken collection game mode. The beginning of the game feels the same as the end of the game, except you're either at the beginning, I guess you're tied, and at the end, you're either winning or losing. But there doesn't really feel or seem to be that same type of buildup that happens within each match. So while the dodging and aiming and all of that is pretty par between League of Legends and Spider Tanks, because League of Legends has that additional depth, I, growing up, was able to spend like 8 hours a day playing League of Legends over the weekends and stuff like that. And I could just get really into it and would want to hop into one match after the next match after the next match. And Spider Tank so far hasn't quite felt that way. So I think, and this is just my suggestion, but I think what Spider Tanks really needs in order to reach that next level and to really reach its potential of a massive, like competitive MOBA that could just absolutely bring blockchain gaming into the mainstream, is there needs to be more depth added to the actual in-game gameplay. There has to be, I don't know, some more League of Legends-esque mechanics where maybe you're not always just fighting against another player. Maybe there are some environmental factors that can allow you to get stronger, and maybe there is some buildup that happens in a match and a final form that you can reach within each match would just make it so much more exciting to jump into the next one and say, I can do better this time. I can actually reach my final form this time. And that desire is really what makes it fun to jump into a League of Legends game. Now, it's very possible that when NFT leveling up gets implemented into Spider Tanks and when like each match maybe your progress from the previous match like benefits you in the next match, like maybe that sort of progression will kind of add what I feel like is lacking in Spider Tanks. I really hope so. But I also feel like some more fun gameplay and some progression within each match could be a really great idea. Because if you allow for progression in a match, and let like some of it get reset in between each match, then there can be way more progression in each match. And then you can also have progression outside of the match so that you get the best of both worlds. And I think that would make Spider Tanks a much more enjoyable game with a lot more long-term potential. So I guess in the end, my conclusion about Spider Tanks is it's just full of it has a lot of potential already. Like I am so excited about what it could be, but I'm also afraid that it's gonna stay too simple. It's gonna stay too arcadey, and there might never be that super like in love with the game following that League of Legends has. So if you are watching this, developers of Spider Tanks, then just think about ways that you can add more depth and more of a crescendo inside of each match, where by the end of the match, jumping into a new match will feel very fresh, and the gameplay at the beginning doesn't feel exactly the same as the gameplay at the end. So I'm gonna end here so that I don't just keep repeating myself, but if you guys agree with some of the thoughts that I have about spider tanks, leave a big thumbs up on this video. I'd really appreciate that. Or even if you don't agree and you're like, that's still pretty interesting, it's worth thinking about, and you appreciate me just sharing my thoughts, a thumbs up is really appreciated, because that'll help out the video in the YouTube algorithm, and then the algorithm will recommend it to more people, and hopefully we can even get the Spider Tanks creators to see it eventually by you guys leaving those thumbs up, and then we can have a better game in the end because of these suggestions. And then if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Make sure you hit subscribe and click that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. My name is Jake, and this channel is On-Chain Gaming. I'm just super hyped about the revolution that is happening in gaming right now, where we're getting real ownership as players for the very first time because of crypto technology. It's really, really cool. So if you're excited about that as well, make sure you subscribe to join the journey. And then I will end by saying thank you to our incredible Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for enabling us to make this content by supporting us. I don't make these videos by myself. Nate, my brother, edits all these videos. Josh, our friend, does the original intro and outro music. And yeah, we really appreciate your support. We love making this content, and you guys are enabling us to do it. And then also, if you guys are curious, if you do become a Patreon supporter, there is an exclusive Discord that you can join. We're forming a play to earn guild inside that Discord. Some really cool stuff and some really cool people are there, so we really appreciate it. But guys, all the support that you need to give is those thumbs up. If that's all you can give, then that's plenty fine. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, have fun roaming the metaverse.